Hey guys, welcome to Waypoint X Wednesday. My name is Judd, so let's get started. Well, guys, welcome back. Like I said, my name is Judd, and we want to welcome you to Waypoint X Wednesday. And so we've got some cool content to bring to you for this Waypoint X Wednesday, and we're really excited about that. I hope you've gone back and looked at all these past episodes and last week when we talked with Ethan over at Everyday Offroad. So go give him a follow as always. But we'll run our little spill. So go hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment, bell, all those crazy things for us, and you'll get all the notifications. And then if you're listening to us on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button for all upcoming content. So like I said, we're going to be posting these every Wednesday. For the most part, we might miss one here or there. So here in a few weeks, we'll be going down to Florida Jeep Jam, and I guess we're going to have to do a podcast down there. I'm looking at Caitlin behind the camera. I guess we're just going to have to make it happen. So we might get some cool footage down there while we're in Florida. But to get to today's content, and I've got one little sidetrack. So we've had some questions about some of the comments and things that I've made in some past episodes. So we're going to clear that clear it up really quickly, and then go into what our main content of today's podcast is. And so it was brought to our attention about the 35s, 37s, and 40s question. And, I really pushed for 37s because that was kind of like the big ticket item. And that's kind of where a lot of people needed to be. I will say this, guys, 35s is fine. And I know there's been a lot of questions like, oh, you're hating on my 35s. No, 35s will go a lot of places, and it will follow majority of the things I do out at Stony. Our good buddy Clayton had 35s for years, and he went all over Moab right behind us with no problem at all. And so 35s is not a bad place to be. It really kind of is that middle of the ground, middle road where you kind of know where you're going to go next, and so you can kind of figure out where you're going to go. So you're going to go tons, or you're going to go 37s, and you can kind of, figure out what road you're going to go down. So, guys, I'm not hating on the 35s, I promise. I ran them for years. Then I moved up to 37s for years, and then now on to 40s. And hopefully, I don't have the pay, the paycheck or the money to go 42s yet. So, Caitlin's like shaking her head because she can barely get in it now. So, just wanted to clear all that up really quickly. So let's get into the main subject of today, and it is maintenance on your Jeep. And I know we talked about a little bit of this, I think, in some past episodes, but we really want to dive deep into maintenance of Jeeps because now that we run a shop called Waypoint X Garage, we really see it even more so. And I'll kind of tell you, this is kind of like my opinion, my doings of how I do my Jeep. And so maybe you can take some of those, little pointers and apply it to your Jeep. I'm not saying this is the end-all, be-all of how to do it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just letting you know that it's going to help you and save you money on down the road. So going into maintenance, we're going to start with just the easiest thing, and it's fluids. Making sure your oil change is good, and your differentials are good, and your and going beyond the oils and stuff like that, but you got a good air cleaner or air filter in the Jeep, and you've got all that taken care of. So just make sure you have good tire pressure in your tires if you're a daily driver, so that way the tires last longer. Things of that nature are pretty much given. I think you should do those no matter what you do. But I wanted to go into more detail. And so, we have Jeeps, whether it's new to you or right off the showroom floor. Ours was used, so, it had a little bit of, scrapes and rust and things of that nature. But some of these Jeeps come from the coast, or they come from up north where they salt the roads. And so that salt is eating at the coatings and everything else. And so you really want to pay close attention, not only to the paint, making sure you're washing it consistently, but the underneath. And so, all your bolts are rusting, your frame's rusting, just every little nook and cranny is possibly could be a problem for you down the road if you don't take those steps and maintenance those. And you're thinking, well, why, Judd, you're saying maintenance, that's like an oil change or doing brakes or things of that nature. That's a good maintenance one that I didn't talk about, brakes. But, making sure your Jeep is not only up for the task of off-road, but just daily driving. And then when you do maintain it, it doesn't cost you more money when you do take it to the shop or you work on it because you've done all this maintenance. And what I'm talking about, painting and rust and things of that nature, is I would say roughly once a year, kind of in the winter, the downtime, the down months of us wheeling, here in the South, because I don't wheel when it's cold. My fingers hurt, my body hurts, I don't like the cold. I will, no, just not going to work. If my feet or hands get cold, I'm out. So, not a cold weather guy. And so that's when I take my time and I really work on my Jeep. And so what I do is I give it a thorough bath. I really wash, as far as like the paint's concerned, I really get into all the nooks and crannies. We take off all the doors. We take off the top and we wipe everything down, all the dust and everything. Let's just say this last year had a lot of Texas dust and Moab dust and everything like that. So we clean it. We thoroughly clean it inside. And so that's just one, healthier for us because we're not having, when you turn on the AC, you're not just getting a blast of, the entire year at you of allergies, but you're just getting it all cleaned up and nice and situated inside. But what I really want to pay close attention to, and I want you to really hear me out in this podcast, is the underneath. And so, like I said, once a year we do this. We go under there and we really dive deep. And what I mean by that is I give it a good washing, maybe with a pressure washer. If you are using a pressure washer, make sure you stay away from those seals and, all the gas lines and all your wiring connections. You don't want to put water in those spots. But I really get in there and I kind of clean it up with some water. And then I'll go back in there and I'll take a degreaser like Purple Power or whatever your preference is. And I'll put it in a spray bottle. Or, how you spray weeds around the house. I'll put it in that. And I'll spray under there, let it sit for a little bit. And then I'll wash it off. And then if it's really bad, and if you haven't done this in a while, what I suggest is go to Home Depot. And, back in the day, well, some of y'all might still be in school that are watching me, but back in the day for us, you go into science class and you had those goggles, that always fogged up, but they went around your nose and it was like basically wearing a pair of goggles that you would go swimming with. So get you a pair of those. Also go to Home Depot and buy like what we call them like a Tyvek suit. So it's, a suit that's not necessarily waterproof, but it kind of keeps all the nastiness away from you and you don't get absolutely soaking wet. And go to Harbor Freight and get a creeper to roll under your Jeep. And you're going to wash everything underneath, getting every little nook and cranny, make sure you're washing, everything, and make sure it's super clean. Make sure you're using that degreaser. So when, you grease those joints throughout the year, and that's another thing I'm going to revert back to the fluids, make sure you grease all your joints. If you have aftermarket joints, make sure that is like top number one. But you want to make sure everything is clean. And so after you do that, I at least do that probably 3 or 4 times, hitting it with degreaser, washing it off, see where the spots I missed, and kind of do that 3 or 4 times. And then I go back and while you're at Home Depot, go ahead and buy you like a pack. It comes in like a 6-pack of paint, spray paint. So I usually do like satin black. You can do flat black. You can do whatever color you want to. I prefer satin because I think it looks a little bit better than flat does. It doesn't show as much. And so I go with satin black and I just start spray painting. Now, before I spray paint, I will get, painter's tape and masking paper, and I will tape off all my shocks. I'll tape off certain nuts and bolts that I don't want painted. I'll cover electrical lines, or electrical connections that I don't want covered up. I'll basically tape off anything that's important. And then I'll go back and spray paint everything underneath. Every little nook and cranny is going to get a coat of paint because throughout the year, I have scraped off on every rock known to man. I have done damage, here, there, or, wherever it is underneath. And I want to make sure that I just hit those spots because you'll see rust, where I've scraped rocks and things of that nature. So I'm just spray painting. I also do my bumpers once a year because my bumpers are just spray painted. They do have a powder coat underneath, but I've beat them on stuff. I hit stuff. And so I'll go back and I'll tape off my winch and things of that nature and paint all that. All that to say is that just helps with maintenance because not only when you're cleaning everything, but you're painting everything and you're preventing rust. And rust is a killer to not only your Jeep, but it's a killer to your pocketbook because rust will destroy everything in its path and it will cost you a lot of money because parts get ruined quick. And so let's say you have a really bad spot that has a lot of rust, get you like a wire brush, or if you have a drill, you can buy little drill attachments that have like a wire wheel to them, and you can hit those spots to knock off the rust and then spray paint over them. I do that a lot. I've got one that I can put on a drill, or I can put on a little air ratchet and a little air gun thing, and I'll go to town, a couple hours, and then hit it with paint afterwards. And I know it sounds like a lot to do to keep up, but I'm telling you, it's going to save you money in the long run. One, it's going to make your Jeep look better. And so that's one thing I like to do. I like my Jeep always looking good. I try to keep it shiny and nice for the most part, even though right now it's still caked on with mud from the last wheeling trip. I haven't been able to get out there and wash it. So you can hate on me for that. But keeping the rust down and making sure you're painting stuff is going to help your Jeep long term. Because let's say you buy this Jeep now, it's got a little rust on it, you don't worry about it. Well, 10, 15 years from now, then you could possibly be having frame problems, bolts are rusted out, and then when you take it to a shop and that bolt's messed up or another part's messed up for rust, it's just going to cost you more money, not only on the part that you're having to replace, but then you've got to pay for possibly bolts that are rusted, and then it just gets worse. And then on top of that, the shop might charge you even more because of how hard it was to get off because you didn't maintenance your Jeep and take care of it because of all the rust. So all in all, one, your Jeep looks better. It saves you money. So it's a win-win in my opinion. So on top of maintenance, we've talked about the fluids, and that goes for greasing things of, whatever, whether it's your steering, your suspension, whatever the case may be, your fluids, whether, you have a ram, you have your engine oil, transmission, things of that nature, however you prefer to do that. I'm not going to tell you how many miles to do it at, this, that, and the other. It's kind of personal preference. There's a lot out in this world. I'll tell you what I do. I change my Jeep motor oil like every 3,000 miles or less. I know you're like, oh my goodness, but I still run the factory oil that came in it, like the factory weight, nothing synthetic, basically just regular old motor oil. And I almost change it like a race motorcycle. So like I used to race motocross, and we would change it like after every race or every other race. And I literally Caitlin will tell you, when I pull the drain plug, it almost comes out just as clear as it went in. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 rides, because I know that motor's getting hot, because my Jeep is just a trail rig only, and I know it's overkill, but for 30, maybe $40 for some oil and a filter, it's worth it to keep the motor going for me. And so I change it out religiously. Now, differential fluid, I change out from time to time. It just kind of depends, but I do that pretty regularly as well. I bought a 5-gallon drum of it because of it from O'Reilly's that I pump in. And that's how often I change it, just because I want my stuff to be in top-notch shape and I don't have to worry about it off-road. And so, like, going back to what we said, making sure you have all your fluids, grease, things of that nature, your painting underneath, and lastly, your bolts. And what I mean by that, and I kind of mentioned that, taping them off and checking them, but making sure all your bolts are tight. Paint marking them. So go get you a paint pen. I use a yellow paint pen because it's very noticeable. And I paint mark all of my jam nuts. And so that way I know if something's coming loose. And it's just a quick, visible, I can get under the Jeep with my creeper, visible inspection. Hey, that's not loose. It's still on the paint mark. And so just an easy way to kind of keep track of everything that's going on with your Jeep. And that way you're not having to get under there with a wrench. You're just saying, okay, that paint mark's there. We're good to go. I mean, you can still put your hand on it and see if it's tight, but it's just a quick, visible, showing that it's still where it needs to be. And so I do that. Now, like I said, when you do wash and you do paint everything, go back your once a year, and it's not bad to once a year and go ahead and double check all the torque and make sure everything's tight, and then go ahead and paint mark it again. So if you wash all that off, go ahead and paint mark it again. It just kind of helps you, one, to be safe and 2, you don't get broken down on the side of the trail. So like I said, all 3 of those things, I know I was a little scatterbrained just a little bit when we were been filming this. It's a little late at night because we wanted to get this show out to you. And so, it's been crazy week. So, but going back, because I'll go off in a tangent, really pay attention, like I said, to your fluids, whether that's grease, motor oil, paint underneath, make sure it's clean because it's going to save you money, and making sure all your bolts are checked. I know you can go into a whole long list of other maintenance items, but I think that's the top 3, in my opinion, to keep your Jeep running, not only on the road, but off-road, and to save money for all those other upgrades. Because I know Jeep parts are very, very expensive, and they keep on getting more expensive every day. And so if you can literally spend, between the painting and everything like that and double checking, I mean, what are you going to spend? Maybe $100, if that. I doubt you even spend that. Maybe $50 for some purple power and, maybe a couple of wire brushes and things of that nature and some paint. You're not going to spend a lot, and it's going to save you a lot in the long run. So, guys, we really do appreciate it. I know this one was short, but, guys, I think these are some awesome points to put in your toolbox, per se. Put it up in the old noggin to kind of help you and your Jeep build and your Jeep journey. And so that's what we want to do over here at Waypoint X is we want to encourage the off-road scene and the Jeep world, and we want to go out there and make Jeeping better for everybody. So, guys, we really do appreciate it. Go hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, leave us a comment, hit that bell for all notifications. Guys, if you have a subject matter that you want us to cover, please put that in the comment section below. We always want to do what y'all are thinking about and things of that nature. So we really want to have your ideas, not necessarily mine, to talk about. And so also we're going to have some awesome guests with us, hopefully very, very soon. We've got some plans when we're up in Michigan for the Jeep Jamboree. We're going to bring all of our podcasting equipment with us, and I think we're going to have like 3 or 4 people on a podcast. It's going to be crazy. So you won't want to miss out. And so, like I said, go hit that bell, do all the fancy stuff. And then if you're on Spotify, hit that follow button and let us know what we can talk about next. But, guys, we really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you out on the trail.